This is Mike Brewer behind the wheel. Automotive news, automotive advice, and tyre smoking fun. Join me, the Brit with the wit, and my car-loving co-host, Brad Fanshaw. Hello everyone, it's Mike Brewer behind the wheel, and I'm looking forward to taking you on a journey of motoring, expertise, fun, facts, and all the stuff that we embrace ourselves with, this wonderful hobby that we love, the classic car and motoring world. Now, together, we are going to go down this journey, but the man who always grabs the passenger door, and I do like travelling with him because he's always got the best snacks, he always shouts shotgun whenever I'm hitting the road, is my passenger, and he seems very willing. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Fanshaw.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm all right, Brad, yeah. Ready for the journey?
I am. I'm always looking forward to these because you take us to the best places.
Anyway, let's hit the road.
Let's go.
Right then. Excited?
There couldn't have been a better day than, I mean, look at it. Huntington Beach, it's summer, it's like 80 degrees, and what are we driving in?
We're driving the latest from Korea.
From Korea.
This
is the Kia.
This is the new Kia. They've just gone to town on it a little bit. No, I'm very excited, Brad, because we are genuinely on the road today in what can only be described as the hottest, latest, most beautiful looking supercar on the planet.
The McLaren
570S. And what a great car. And they've delivered it to us in this amazing colour. It's bright orange, so me and Brad look rather obvious at the moment going down the street. Saying that, we're just about to pull out of a car park into somebody that's in a lime green Dodge Hellcat thing.
Yeah, that's not even lime green. That's almost like a pea green.
It is like a pea green. It's a very odd colour choice, isn't it? But let me and you get out the car park in this McLaren, and let's see what the taps are like when you open up the taps. I've got the car actually at the moment in the raised position.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, that was because I've been very careful in the parking lot not to scrape any of the underneath on this car. That little noise that you just heard there is the computer telling me that I'm driving too fast in a raised position, and now the car is going to lower itself back down. So let's get the car down to vehicle lowering. Says it up on the dashboard. Now we've got the vehicle low, we can just check in our rear view mirror and in our blind spot, because what we don't want,
that's McLaren accelerating,
is you don't want any police around. Listen, there is a rule, right, that says that the roads have got a speed limit on them.
Yes.
Like this one, 65 miles an hour. But there's nothing in the rule book to say how fast you can get to 65 miles an hour. In this car, it's going to be just a shade over 3 seconds.
And as you noted when we pulled out back there, is that in this car, you're not going to be subtle. You're going to be seen.
Oh, no, you're going to be very obvious. Yeah, you're going to be very, very obvious. So me and Brad are very excited today to be talking to you from behind the wheel of the latest McLaren, the 570S. And we're going to take you on a little journey as to what this car has to offer and the world of supercars. But before we do, look at that. As if really professionally, Brad takes phone call. But look, work never stops, is it, Brad?
It never stops.
It never stops.
Never
if you need to get it, get it.
I'll get it in a little bit.
You need to run your camera again now. Look.
Does it stop?
See, it's like the Keystone Cops, us two. It really is.
It's because we're doing the production on our own and driving and talking. And you know what I've dubbed this McLaren today, don't you?
What, the office on wheels?
This is the world's fastest podcast studio.
It is, and it's the world's fastest office today because we're both working. Right, so let's give you some geography to anyone out there listening to this. Obviously, it's very hard to listen to something without seeing pictures. We are going to be posting up video and pictures of today on our website, Mike Brewer Behind the Wheel, MikeBrewerBTW.com. Make sure that you go to the website. We are also going to be putting it across our social media, but we're just going to give you a bit of geography. Right now, we're on a famous stretch of road that's called the Pacific Coast Highway. That strip of tarmac runs all the way from San Francisco all the way down to San Diego and then down into Mexico. We are in what is the surf capital of the world. This place is called Huntington Beach. We've got the ocean to our right hand side. We've got the beautiful city of Huntington on our left hand side, and we've got a clear stretch of road in front of us, and we are driving one of the hottest cars on the planet at the moment. So all in all, not a bad day.
Not a bad day at all. I mean, how can you go wrong when you're sitting here with the ocean right there, sun, there are people on surfboards, there's people on beach bikes, and we're in the McLaren.
And we're in the McLaren. Now, first impressions, right, for me in this car, look at us. We're just two dudes cruising along. We're doing no more at the moment than 55 miles an hour. How refined is this car?
You know, it is. Because, first of all, the seats, you can feel they're going to hold you in place when you need them. But at the same time, I've got good lumbar support. I've got good lower back support. All of the footwell area, I'm not cramped.
No, it's huge in here.
Yeah, and we've got a supercar with air conditioning.
Yeah, air conditioning's on. We've got all the toys going at the moment, and of course, I've got all the. I'm just gonna hit the brakes as the brakes are good. Look at that! First time I've stamped on those.
Carbon fiber brakes.
Carbon fiber. They just stopped this car and it was sixpence and gripped me in the seat thanks to this very lurid, which is an optional extra. It's the orange seatbelt. What do you think of the orange seatbelt?
You know what? I kind of dig them. I mean, if you get a supercar, why not go?
We just got overtaken by an orange Audi.
An orange Audi.
Right, let's
Can't let that happen.
Whoa, this car is quick. Whoa, that was very quick, officer.
That was.
Did you see
very
how fast
quick.
that was?
I did see that. I looked down and I went, "We're going how fast?"
I know.
That was incredible.
That was nuts. Okay, officer, we won't be doing that again. Let's give you some facts and figures about this car.
Wait, Mike. If you got pulled over right there, all you'd have to say is, "I'm sorry." It was a minute where I went crazy because I saw the orange car and I thought, "How did I fall out of my car? I gotta catch up."
Oh wow, that was quick, wasn't it? That was really fast.
And smooth.
And really smooth and lovely. That lovely. See, at the moment when you're just poodling along, dare I say, it sounds a bit like a 4-cylinder diesel once it jumps into 7th gear and it's just cruising along. But once you open the taps and mash your pedal into that carpet down there on that beautiful drilled pedal, should I say, once you mash your foot, it sounds like a wailing Formula One car. It just comes alive. And that's due in part thanks to the 3.8 litre V8 engine, twin turbo at the back. This engine is good. You ready for this? You're going to love this. Top speed of this car, 204 miles an hour.
204. Okay. So we can put the top down and go 204 miles an hour.
No. What they do is they limit the speed once you've got the top down because they don't want you to lose your wig. So they've taken off the top speed as a convertible. You ready? Just 8 miles an hour. So it does 196 miles an hour as a convertible. 196.
So it limits it to 196 so you don't lose your wig. I think, Mike, you could still lose your wig. And your iPhone and your coffee cup.
I mean, you're going to be in a vortex, aren't you? Everything's going to be just sucked out the car.
Yes.
Of which, when we turn the car around and come back, I think we'll pop the roof off and experience it.
That'd be a great idea.
That'd be a great idea, wouldn't it? So let me tell you what it's like to be behind the cockpit of this amazing car, okay? I'm gripping hold of a beautiful kid leather, beautifully stitched steering wheel. Steering wheel's got reach and rake on it, which is lovely. I can pull it out to my chest and get it into a really comfortable position. The instrument pod in front of me is all LED or LCD or whatever you want to call them. It's a completely digital pod up front, and you can do anything in there. It's like an infotainment system as well. I can adjust the settings on the car, I can raise and lower the car, I can change the way that I want that instrument pod to look in terms of colour and brightness. At the moment I've got it in orange, which is nice because it suits the outside of the car. And then in the middle of the car we've got the brains, the infotainment system, which hooks up Bluetooth connectivity. It's got the air conditioning, and it's a bit like we used to now with an iPad that's sitting in the middle of the car. Down below that we've got the more serious stuff of the buttons to play with. So we've got a selectable automatic gearbox. It's 7-speed. It's a seamless 7-speed. You don't even know it's changing gear. It just jumps from one gear to the next. Look, we're doing 37. How nice is that?
I know. And when it does shift automatically, like back there, it's nice and crisp.
It's beautiful.
It has that little crisp pop.
How nice is that? Look, we're in 5th at 33 miles an hour, saving gas, saving petrol. It's blooming lovely, isn't it? So we got a push button selector for the what gear you want to be in. There is no park. It's drive, neutral and reverse. Nice and simple. You've got an electronic parking brake, or e-brake as they call them here in America. And then above the gear selector, you've got some very serious buttons. You've got the button for launch control. You've got the button for active, which is the suspension setup. And and then you've got these two toggle switches, which is where you can take this car from being a normal car into a track star just by fiddling with those buttons. And of course, the all-important start-stop button, which every car has these days, even your local little weenie hatchback will have a stop-start button these days. We've lost the ability to put a key in the car, haven't we? But absolutely beautiful and refined inside. Good sound system as well. Look at the name of the sound system in this car.
Yeah, Bowers and Wilkins, and you can see it's got good weighted speakers in there, so when you crank it up, it's going to be good. I also like the instrumentation, all of the, the controls that come out of the steering column.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
They're beautiful. They look like they're machined or something.
Yeah,
really
everything in this car feels beautifully engineered, which is what you'd want and expect from McLaren, isn't it? You want that kind of stuff. Now, in the world today, Brad, okay, we may be frowned upon. Me and you driving along the road in this car, people might think, look at those two, you know, gas guzzling, screaming up the planet, being hooligans in that beautiful McLaren. They might think that, some people, but actually they could be right, because in the world at the moment there's a real movement to electrify cars, make cars smaller, make them more frugal, make cars more practical. Do we really need supercars? But actually, it's the opposite, isn't it? The opposite is true.
Supercars have come into their own. I mean, when you think of back, you know, before the 80s, there weren't really supercars. It was when the Countach came out and like that. But those were rough. I mean, when we look back at them, they always had to be in the maintenance shop.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a Ferrari I had in the early 90s even, 3,000 miles, it needed a timing belt.
Yeah.
3,000 miles, Mike. And now these cars, they are refined. You can drive them like we're doing right now. We're right here at the historic Huntington Beach Pier, and yeah, I've seen some people walking through the crosswalk, and it's getting stares.
Yeah, of course this car's going to get stares. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. But every manufacturer out there now is or has some kind of supercar in their brand, in their portfolio. Me and you spoke about brands recently, about the likes of Volkswagen. They own 11 car brands. Ford owns several 8, 9 car brands. Might even be 11 actually, again, car brands. And if you think about it, almost every manufacturer out there has a supercar. Ford with the GT.
Look at that car. I mean, who would have ever thought that Ford would have an honest-to-goodness supercar that is out competing and on the streets and on the track.
And on the track, yeah, in Le Mans. And then you've got, obviously, McLaren, then you've got Jaguar, you've got Lamborghini, you've got Ferrari, almost every manufacturer out there.
Alfa Romeo,
yeah, of course. Yeah. And Porsche, obviously, they've got that new electronic Porsche coming out. Everyone seems to have this, it seems to be the rise of the supercar at the moment.
The computer has helped the supercar so much, because a car like this, to get the performance in the past, they couldn't do it. We'd be loading up. We'd be worrying about loading up the sparks and the fuel delivery and everything. Right now, the computer's managing all that so that it's not going to overheat, it's not going to get fouled out, and then at the blip of a throttle, this car will do top performance.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me, just piddling along here, and we are stopping at sets of traffic lights along the way. I could be in any old, I mean, I'm in a beautiful car, but I could be driving any old car.
That is the thing. There are cars now that you can literally drive and enjoy, because like we said, we have the air conditioner on, we have the windows up, but at the same time, if we want to put the windows down, turn the stereo up, put the top back, we can enjoy that beach air and go fast.
And trust me, we're going to be doing all those things.
And going in and out of the traffic.
And in and out of the traffic. We're going to be doing all of those things, Brad, most definitely. So yeah, the world of supercars is changing. It's on the ascent. More manufacturers than ever before are looking towards supercar performance. They need to have at least one of those cars in their brand, and it creates a halo for that brand. You know, people won't put a poster on the wall of a Volkswagen Polo, but they will of an Audi R8. Yes. It's as simple as that. So
it gives the brand that aspirational, you know, the customer has aspirations of, I want one of those, but I can afford one of these. And, you know, we all have dreamt of it. And now you can drive it. Now you can You can get in this car, drive down the road.
Look at that kid's face.
His mouth is open.
That's
taking
fantastic.
A photo.
That's fantastic. That kid's face is just awesome. There's a kid crossing the road in front of us who looks like one of the cast out of Stranger Things. The kid with the he did. He looked like him, and his mouth just fell open.
He has his beach towel around, and he stopped right in the middle of the street, turned around to take a photo.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's what it's all about. Right there.
Yeah, it is. That's what it's all about. Right. So let's talk about McLaren for a bit, because McLaren, as we know, is a Formula One car manufacturer. They are literally the centre of excellence in terms of engineering. I've been to their factory.
Lucky you.
Yeah, it's an amazing factory. I've been there a couple of times, actually. McLaren is down in Woking in Surrey. That's south of London, geography-wise.
Okay.
So if you flew into London, you'd head south into the countryside. The McLaren factory is nestled in this beautiful landscape. It's absolutely delightful to look at. It looks like a futuristic kind of factory. Everything is so clinically clean. I know the guy that runs it, Ron Dennis, I think he's a bit OCD, because literally even the grass outside looks like somebody washes the grass with a toothbrush. It's meticulous. It's meticulous. It is absolutely. Oh look, we've got an open bit of road. Oh my God, this car is so quick. Wow. I
thought you said 208 was the top.
It is the top. Well, that was almost half that in a heartbeat. Officer, I wasn't breaking any law, I promise. Yeah, it's really easy to lose your license in this, isn't it?
I can imagine that it would be, because it's one of those cars, like so many of them, that it wants to be let loose. It wants to be turned loose, and you want to hear the motor. You want to hear it scream. You want to feel that transmission pop through the gears.
Every bit of that I love. Every single bit. Rearview mirror, lady behind us, she's got a Louis Vuitton iPhone case out, and she's snapping a picture. She's taking a picture of my butt, my rear. It's quite nice, isn't it? It is quite nice.
Your big orange butt.
My big orange butt, and it is a big orange butt today. It really is. So
there's a 488 Especial going the other way. There's a GT3. That's what's amazing about this road, Mike, is that this is a weekday, and we're seeing that kind of
all
cars.
There's supercars cruising up and down. At the weekend, it's they have supercar shows here on the beach in these car parks. Yeah, it's amazing. The factory itself is so clinically clean. It's unbelievable. The factory, and they do factory tours. So if you're ever in England, see if you can get a look in and look it up. People out there, and see if you can get a factory tour down to the facilities. It's well worth going to see.
Just don't arrive with muddy feet.
Yes, please don't. No, they would wash you before you went in. I'm convinced of it. I was the dirtiest thing in that factory. I was the dirtiest thing. When they engineer the cars and make the cars, you could eat your dinner off the floor. But here's a couple of little things that I like about McLaren. They've been selling cars to the public now for over 20 years. Not a lot of people think that. You know, McLaren is a very well established now car manufacturer, and they've been doing it for over 20 years. The other thing about McLaren as well, which is remarkable really, is McLaren doesn't lend or borrow anything from anybody else. So they didn't start their company by borrowing. I think they had BMW engine in the first McLaren F1, but other than that, McLaren as the mainstream company have really just engineered, developed and refined their cars all by themselves.
So all their R&D is
in-house, yeah. And I've been in there and seen them put these tubs together on these cars when they lay down the carbon fibre, and they put them in these huge, great big ovens to cook the carbon fibre in the ovens, and they come out, they look amazing, and they're stronger than steel. You know, these cars are stronger than steel. And when you're driving a supercar with supercar performance, you want a car that's going to be as stiff as you can get it. The last thing you want is any flexibility in the car, because you're going to feel it on the road. It's going to jump around a bit. And as with cars like this as well, with the Spider, as soon as you take the structural integrity out the roof of the car, you are weakening basically the monocoque of the car.
Yeah, it wants to twist.
It wants to twist and buckle. But they've been very clever. They've engineered this in such a way that both with the roof up and roof down, this car retains the same structural integrity. It really is a thoroughly stiff car. At some point, we're going to put the roof down. Hope the sound will cope with it, because it's quite kind of windy and noisy in the car with the roof down. And I just hope my toupee tape will stand for it today.
Well, you put the extra strong on, didn't you?
I did put the extra strong on today. I did, yeah. I went for grippy. This is my Lego hair.
Now it won't mess my hair, will it?
No,
Okay,
your hair.
good.
You have got perfect hair, Brad. You have got perfect hair. Brad had that hair when he was 18, and it's just stayed like that ever since.
I had it 3D printed last
Yeah,
year.
exactly. And it's just stayed there ever since. So, in comparison, Brad, to the Ferrari that you was driving, the Lusso.
Yes.
Give us your opinion in terms of. I know you're in the passenger seat at the moment, but what's your comparison?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're comparing a Lusso, which is more of a almost like a touring car, versus this, which is a supercar. Interior-wise, when you look at it, this is much more stark. But you want that because you want it to feel more like a race car. You want it to feel like at any given time you could take this to the track and do hot laps.
Yeah.
Where the other Lusso, that Ferrari was comfortable. When you wanted it to jump on it, you could jump on it, but you also wanted to feel like, yeah, I can go down to the to the hardware store and pick up a propane tank, which I did.
Yeah, I still can't believe you did that.
But the other thing is, the seats are a very good comparison between the two, Mike, because these seats feel very firm. They feel like you are planted in the vehicle. Where the Lusso, it had great bolster, it had great support, but it also had just enough softness to it to make it feel very comfortable on a long drive. And I would say having this in the garage as your supercar and the Lusso as your daily driver would not be a bad thing to
It
have.
would not be a bad thing, eh? So if you had this never-ending pot of money, would you have one of each in your garage?
If I had a never-ending pot of money, I think I'd have a whole fleet of cars because there's something you like about all of them. But this one, the racing heritage that you spoke about, and growing up, what did you hear is that if it wasn't a McLaren race car, it was a McLaren drivetrain.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just phenomenal cars.
Yeah, amazing cars. The McLaren F1 as well, the original sort of, world's fastest production car, wasn't it, at the time? The McLaren F1, that is now making... it's still such an iconic car. And I was at a private collection. Somebody had one in a private collection, and he only had it delivered like 2 days before, and he showed me pictures of the car being delivered to him, and it was delivered with 2 security guards.
Wow.
Because the car was that valuable. I think he paid something like 15 million for it, and it was that valuable, this car. I don't know if it was a low production number, but he had it turned up with these 2 great big guys in tight suits and little black ties, and dark sunglasses on, to make sure that nothing happened to his. But then saying that, if me and you were lucky enough to go and buy either Charlotte or Michelle a $15 million ring, I think I'd want a security guard to deliver it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and to put it in the safe so that she can never wear it and get it stolen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I see why they did that.
Now, I was in Monterey, you've been to Monterey, and you see supercars on every corner up there during Automotive Week. One year, I was out and went out to one of the car shows at the golf course, and there was an F1 McLaren sitting parked at an angle like this on the golf course parking lot, and I went, wow. To not only have that car, then there's the next guy who has that car and he actually drives it, doesn't just collect it.
Yeah.
Then there's the guy who drives it and just parks it on the lawn.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
Of course, amazing cars. Amazing. I love them. They're such an iconic car. There's a very, for anyone who's listening around the world and not visited London, there's a McLaren dealership on Park Lane in London, one of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the world, right opposite Hyde Park. And they've always had an F1 in the window, an original car. And It is the silver F1, I think that was the press car, and it's just sat there, and it's sat there ever since. It's never moved, and it's so lovely to see because you know, they built that car and they parked it in the showroom, and it's just gone up $1 million a year almost since it sat there. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Now we are gonna get the roof off, Brad.
We're gonna blow the roof off.
Gonna blow the roof off, and you're gonna like this. Ready? The roof. You're gonna like this on video as well.
Wait a minute. We don't have to stop the car.
No. You
just press a button.
You just flick this little button here, right? And in no longer. Oh, let me just press it correctly. In no longer than 15 seconds, the roof on this car is going to retract a bit like Transformers.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Mike, you've just shed light on our podcast.
How good is that, eh? And we've also got this other little button here that we can raise and lower this screen behind us.
So we've got the wind.
To buffet the wind, and we keep the glass up and down. Look, 15 seconds later, me and you, we're in a convertible.
Nice. Yeah, we're in a convertible.
We're in a convertible.
A convertible supercar.
Which would be limited, unfortunately. Top speed now is only 196. Only.
I'm not happy anymore.
No, I'm not happy.
I wanted to go 208.
So let me tell you about the price of this car. This one is the one that we're driving today. Stock price of this car is $200,000.
Okay.
It's comparable, isn't it, with other.
Okay, let me rephrase. We compared it to the Lusso before.
Yeah.
The Lusso's $150,000. Well, $100,000 more on the base price already.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So this is $200,000, but the one we're driving today has got some optional extras, and they include these lurid orange seat belts to match the outside of the car. I don't know if I'd have those as an extra, personally. We've got the facility on this car to raise and lower the ride height electronically, particularly if we're going into a car park or going up a multi-story car park and you don't want to scrape the car. You can raise and lower it, and that's another extra on this car. And this one's got the luxury pack. What the luxury pack consists of, I can't really tell you. I'm sure it's the Bowers and Wilkins speakers and a bit of double stitch in leather, but that adds another chunk of change to the top line. So this car that we're driving, $235,000.
Still of $120,000 below the Lusso, and you have a performance exotic supercar that you can drive down through PCH and still get admiring glances.
Yeah, of course you can, yeah. Now we've got the roof off as well. It's very tempting to hear what it sounds like.
To see our ears wiggle?
To see our ears wiggle, okay, with the roof off. Unfortunately, we've got some cars around and some traffic, and I am not one for breaking the law. I'm a very law-abiding citizen. But as I say, and I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, all roads have speed limits, but I do believe there's nothing in the law that says how fast you can get to that speed limit.
Well, there is something in America called, let me think of the exact terminology, because I was told by an officer of the law once that I had just broken this law. It is uninitiated acceleration.
Oh my God, that car is...
Oh, I got it. I was told by an officer once that, sir, you cannot do that. That is called exhibition of speed.
Oh, really? Is that what they said?
Exhibition of speed.
Exhibition of speed. Well, I don't think there's such a law in England. You can, if it says, if the road's 70 miles an hour and I can get to 70 miles an hour in this car just a shade over 3 seconds, I think that's fine. I think that, in England, the police will pull you over and probably wag their finger at you, but I don't think technically could write you a ticket for it.
Yeah, it's like getting on the freeway, on those on-ramps.
Yep.
They're always a great place to jump up, get up to speed very quickly. Now, Mike, I like how on the dash it tells you the posted speed limit so that you know how fast you can go. And see, it's 75 right here.
That's the temperature.
Oh, that's the temperature.
That's the temperature outside. So we got another lovely day here in Southern California. I would love if it said 75, but no, the posted speed limit on this stretch of road is 50 miles an hour, and I won't be going any faster than that. I'm just going to enjoy it.
Hey, Mike. Don't look now, but right next to you is a burnt orange Hellcat.
Oh no, it's a belt.
Who do you think's faster?
Well, actually, fastest accelerating car on the planet, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah. But
the Demon is.
The Demon is.
That's just the Hellcat. It's slower.
Yeah, that's the slow one. That's the poverty spec car. Unlike us, sitting here in our all flash, but this car is just insane. It's the other thing that I've noticed about as well, just driving along, when I've had to make some little course changes, I've had to move around in the traffic, the steering is almost telepathic. Where I want to put the car is where it arrives. So the steering is so precise, beautifully weighted as well. And you know, you can see that this car has been put together by real motoring or motorsport enthusiasts with an eye to luxury and to brand, because they've absolutely nailed it. They've nailed it, I think, this car.
Now, many of these new supercars, you talked about the weighting of the steering wheel. I like to refer to it as it feels dense. Because you know how some cars, they feel like if you know, they just want to kind of...
You like it? Yeah? That's a... Oh, yeah.
There we go.
Hold on. We can play that game, I think.
He thinks. Not as throaty.
Not as throaty. That's the V8 next door. But I think we could take you. If we were doing a run from the lights, we'd take you. You'd have a go.
That's always the problem.
Let's do it for pink slips. It's not mine. Nice to meet you. There you go. What a. See, that's what owning cars here in California is like. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That does sound good.
Yes.
So that's nice. So you just got a little bit of live there, people, of what it's like to be out here in Southern California. Wherever I'm driving out here, whether I'm in my little Porsche 911, whether I'm just cruising on the way to work, you'll always get somebody that gives you a thumbs up and a smile, and people are very willing to talk about cars with you. But yeah, that's a cool looking car that guy's got. Very cool. So, what do you think then, Brad? Do you love it?
I do. I mean, there wasn't a question that I was going to love it. From the day we walked into that McLaren dealership in Newport Beach, you look at them all, you look at the colors, you look at everything, but McLaren has that distinctive shape and line to it. You know, so, you look at Lamborghini and they're crisp and they're harsh, and Ferrari is refined. McLaren looks like it's been in a wind tunnel. And they kept going, okay, let's just scrape a little more off here. And then they stood back and said, okay, now let's mold it a little bit so it looks perfect.
Now, people often ask me, what makes a classic car and when is a car a classic? And it's a really tough question to answer, because classic cars basically are a car, I believe, that has some kind of fan club, some kind of users group. People gather and meet up to look at each other's cars and admire each other's cars. That's when a car starts becoming into a classic. Most of the classic cars out there today, especially in the supercar realm, have heritage.
Yeah.
Now, heritage is a big word, because you've got the likes of Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Jaguar. All these companies have got a huge heritage that they can tap into in terms of their past. How does that sit with a manufacturer that's only been manufacturing cars for just over 20 years to the public?
Well, I think that McLaren, they can honestly put their foot into that arena because of the fact that they have that racing heritage. And when you draw on their years and decades of racing heritage, their wins, their Formula One, their IndyCar, everything that they have there, how can you say they wouldn't have heritage?
Yes, that's a really good point, Brad. Really good point. So I think that McLaren, you know, I have heard, somebody said to me when I was driving this car, well, it's nice to drive a brand with no heritage. But I think you've just nailed that. I think you've just knocked that on the head. No, this is a brand that's, well, look, every brand had to start out there somewhere, you know, so nobody had heritage from Jaguar, Lamborghini, Ferrari 60, 70 years ago when their companies formed and started. But now they have got a heritage, and McLaren's going to be one of the future.
And heritage is the one thing that a manufacturer cannot purchase. They can't spend millions of dollars on marketing to create heritage. You can only accrue that over time, and with either wins on the track or awards for design, and McLaren has both.
It does have both, yeah, it really does. And long may it continue, because this has been an absolute pleasure today. I've just noticed, because I'm noticing things in this car all the while that I'm driving it, how cheeky. This car, it's a supercar, it's got cruise control.
I noticed that when we got in.
I've just noticed it's got cruise control. And I'm thinking, how cheeky. What are you expecting to do to get to 204 miles an hour? And hit the cruise control.
You know, if we headed to Vegas, Mike, we'd put it at 180 and just go.
You'd be there so quickly, wouldn't you?
Hey, now let me ask you something. You told me once and enlightened me about what that logo right there,
Yeah,
McLaren,
so-
where did it derive from?
Well, it comes from it's a fish, and it's the eye. It's actually the pupil in a fish's eye. Is that shape? Is that logo? And McLaren had their head of design for many years. He's an amazing chap. He's a really good friend of mine, and his name is Frank Stephenson. Frank is a guy that's got such an amazing history. And if you're a car guy or a car girl, and you want to know who creates the most amazing cars that we drive on the roads today, look no further than the name. Google it, Frank Stephenson. That guy was responsible when he left school for designing the rear of the Ford Escort Cosworth. He then went on to Mini, which was then owned by BMW, and he designed the remake of the Mini, the original one, the Mini one. And through the success of that, BMW asked him to make their first ever SUV. Once they acquired Land Rover as a company, they acquired all of their technology, how to build a four-wheel drive car. They took basically the footprint of a Land Rover, and they said to Frank Stephenson, draw a car around it, and he made on an aeroplane napkin, this is a true story, he made the BMW X5,
Really?
which is the car we all know and love today, and that's a Frank design. He then got headhunted by Fiat and Ferrari, and when he went to Fiat, he did the Fiat 500.
Yes.
The new one.
Mm-hmm.
So he designed that. Then he went to Ferrari and did the 612 Scaglietti and the 458, two of the most beautiful cars in the world. He then went to McLaren from 2006 to just recently. Frank designed every McLaren. I think he designed this one as well. I'm not too sure about that, but Frank designed every car for McLaren, so you can see the guy knows what he's doing. And now Frank's left, and he started on his biggest adventure yet, and he's designed, and you know it's going to be a winner because of what I've just told you about the cars that he's designed. He only puts his names to things that are gonna, but you're gonna pardon the pun here, that are gonna fly. Because he's just left McLaren, one of the best jobs in the automotive world, to join a company to make the world's first real, genuine flying car.
Oh, literally a flying car.
Literally a flying
Wow.
car. So Frank is head of design of that, and he has some grand ideas. And if I, just think back, everyone, what I just said, Mini, Fiat 500, 612 Ferrari, the BMW X5, every McLaren you've seen since 2006, that guy designed them. So do you think he's going to have do you think he's going to nail it when he does a flying car? Of course he is. It's going to be sensational.
Chances are people will be going like this, Mike. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet it's going to
will.
have a pretty dynamic design of the bottom.
Of course it will. It'll be amazing, and no doubt it'll have that Frank flair to it as well. So an amazing guy, and I know he's very proud of the time that he had with McLaren, and he's the one who told me about the fish's eye. In fact, behind his desk at work, he had a picture of that fish with the eye, and he zoomed into the picture for me, and he said, look at the pupil on the fish's eye. That's where the logo comes from.
It's amazing because, when you just look at it from the aesthetic look of it, you think, oh, it's probably like the interpretation of an F1 wing or a nose of a car or something like that. But no, when you told me that, I was like, okay, I learned something today.
Yeah, there you go. It's nice, isn't it, that we learn something every single day?
Yes.
Every single day, and I do like that. So what more can I tell you about this car? I can tell you this. How about this? Right, so we spoke earlier about structural rigidity, and if you take it out of a car, obviously you make the car less stronger, but they counteracted that with the way that they formed the monocoque of this car. They built the car as a convertible first, and then added the coupe roof after, the spider
so that
roof.
they could ensure the rigidity of the car, and then...
Yeah. But then, lots of people out there may be thinking, yeah, that's all well and good, but once you add in the motors and you add in the roof of this car, you're adding in 101 extra pounds of weight to get this operation to work. But you know what McLaren did?
Added more horsepower?
Nope, they put that weight right in the centre of the car. So they used the weight to their advantage and balanced the car
to help
out.
balance the front and the rear.
Yeah, they help balance the front and the rear out, and that's great, isn't it? That they
Now,
did
how many horsepower did you say this puts out?
I don't want to say because it's rude. I think it's rude. I think the easiest way to say, because somebody always says to me, "How many horsepower has that car got?" You know the best answer? Lots.
Lots?
Lots.
So it's like telling someone their age. You know, they don't reveal their age. You don't reveal the horsepower.
No. Do you know why? Because I've forgotten.
I was wondering if I was putting you on the spot.
You was putting me on the spot.
I don't know.
I do.
You don't know.
I do. It was. I've just forgotten. It's clear. It's just popped out of my head. But it is. Here you go. Here's the answer. It's lots.
It's lots.
It's lots. I mean, you can feel it's lots. Car does 204 miles an hour. What do you expect?
And it went to the triple digits like that. Yeah.
Yes. There is a. I think it gets from 0 to 124 miles an hour in less than 6 seconds. Yes, which is, when you think about it, you know, when we were growing up, a GTI, if you got from 0 to 60 in 8 seconds, you were cooking. If you were lucky enough to have a Porsche 911, which is the benchmark for a 0 to 60 time, and it was around 6.5 seconds, people go, what? You get 0 to 60 in 6.5? This car will go double that speed in the same time.
Isn't that amazing what they can do now? And I would like to take this moment to say that no animals were harmed during this video and no speed limits were exceeded.
Not one speed limit was exceeded. The only thing that we might need is a change of pants.
Yes.
At some point.
But
At some point.
I mean, look at this. We're cruising down down this classic American road, like we said before, the ocean, and now we have the sun on our heads.
Brilliant, isn't it? Isn't this great?
It's just phenomenal.
Do you want to hear that engine again? Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it. There it is.
Oh, and again,
amazing.
It is amazing acceleration, isn't it? And it's so smooth, and that seamless 7-speed gearbox really is.
I mean,
seamless.
The way it got up to 55, just like that.
Oh, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. Well, listen, everyone, thank you very much. I did have a question, but you know what? I'm so unprepared because the question's on my phone, which is being used to video me.
It is
at the moment. But I did have a question from somebody. I apologise for if I've forgotten your name, but somebody genuinely, and I thought that's a perfect question for this moment. Somebody said, "What's the best car I've ever driven?"
Oh, that's got to be a tough one to answer.
No, it's always going to be a tough one to answer because I've driven everything out there, and you know, when you've been behind the wheel of some of the world's most exotic and favourite cars, adorn posters and bedroom walls across the world, it's hard to pinpoint a favourite. I mean, clearly at the moment, this is my favourite car. This 570S is just beautiful to be behind the wheel. But I would say other times, you know, I get behind the wheel of my little Porsche 912, and I've never smiled so hard. The Jensen Healey. The Austin Healey, not Jensen Healey, the Austin Healey 3000 that I recently restored. That was an amazing car. So thank you very much for the question. It's a tough one, but I'm going to give you the answer. For today, it's most definitely the McLaren 570S, and it's going to be a long time before I forget this experience.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying there is that cars are one of those things that it doesn't always have to be the car you're driving. It's the experiences you get. So you could be driving a VW Beetle.
Yes.
And if you remember those experiences, have you ever gotten in a car, Mike, where you get a smell and you go, oh, and it takes you right back to something.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Usually it's the curry the night before, but we won't go there. And it does normally take me back. But you're right, Brad. This experience, being in the car with my buddy on the PCH in the supercar, well, you can't pay for that. And no, I can't pay for it because this car's way outside my pay packet. But we hope you've enjoyed what we bought you. we hope you've enjoyed this experience today. We're just giving you a little insight into the world of what it's like to drive a supercar out here in Southern California. Me and Brad, we want to thank McLaren for giving us the car, lending their support. Thank you so much. And if there's anybody else out there that's got a car that they want me and Brad to give us, well, our 2 penneth worth as we go up and down the freeway or on the PCH, then please do get in touch. We're really easy to find. You can email me, Mike Brewer, btw@gmail.com, and you can find me across all kinds of social media, which are, Brad?
It is on Instagram. It's at Mike Brewer BTW. Also on Twitter and Facebook at the same. Makes it super easy. And you can find me at Bonspeed Brad on Instagram. Everywhere else, it's Brad Fanshaw.
Fantastic. You enjoyed that?
I did. I mean, Mike, I got to play hooky from work, come down here, drive down PCH, now with the top off, get a little bit of sun, get a little bit of horsepower, and get to hang out with you, buddy.
It's great, isn't it? Especially a bit of lunch.
Oh, yeah. I'm always up for lunch.
Yeah.
Lunch and a supercar. Perfect day.
No, we're not having it. Let's do a drive-through. That'd be really funny. We'd put milkshakes and French fries. We'd give the car back to McLaren and make a right mess of it. We'd trash the inside. Absolutely brilliant.
It'd be funny, but we'd probably never get another one.
We'd never get another one. And they'd never trust us again, would they? But listen, everyone, thank you for joining in. Make sure that you give us a subscribe. Make sure you give us a 5-star rating and give us a little review. Tell us what you think of this podcast. We love the positive reviews. It means that me and Brad get together every week and we keep making it for you. So please make sure you subscribe, because if you do, you can keep abreast to when there's a new podcast out there. We aim to bring you one a week. So thank you very much for joining in, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you all again next week. All right?
Thanks, everybody.
Ta-da!
This show brought to you in part by Bonspeed Wheels. Bonspeed Wheels, machined in America for cars, trucks, hot rods, and exotics. We make wheels for your lifestyle. Find us at bonspeedwheels.com.
If you need to get in touch with me or Brad, you can do. Ask us any question you like about motoring issues or a motoring related thing. If you've got something that you want to do to your car and you don't know how to do it, you want to sell your car, you want to advertise your car, you want to buy a car and you need some advice, then please reach out to us. You can find us on Twitter at Mike Brewer BTW. See what we did there? Genius.
Is that for behind the wheel?
It is. There you go.
Wow, how did you come up with that?
It's so good, isn't it? And we'll see you all next week.
This has been a Bonspeed Media production from Circle B Studios. If you like this show, also listen to Shift and Steer, Man Seeks Adventure, and Dixon's Wild Ride. You can subscribe to them on iTunes or visit their websites. If you'd like to reach Bonspeed Media, you can do so at bonspeedmedia@gmail.com.